The morning sun rose over New Busan like any other day. Children laughed as they ran to school. Parents waved goodbye from their homes. Nobody knew this would be their last sunrise. Dae-ho Kim stood in his office looking out at the colony. As the administrator, he felt proud of what they had built here. The farming dome stretched across the valley. Green fields of earth crops grew under the alien sky. It was a peaceful place far from the wars that raged across the galaxy. His assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, we have a message from the Imperial Fleet." Dae-ho frowned. The Empire rarely contacted them directly. They paid their taxes and stayed out of trouble. "What do they want?" "They want all colonial records sent immediately. Population counts, defense systems, everything." Something cold settled in Dae-ho's stomach. "Defense systems? We don't have any weapons here. This is a farming world." "That's what I told them, sir." Dae-ho walked to his desk and opened the communication channel. The face that appeared on screen was not human. Emperor Vextar had cold yellow eyes and scaled green skin. His kind ruled most of the galaxy through fear. "Administrator Kim," the Emperor said in his harsh voice, "your world has been chosen for a demonstration." "Demonstration of what, Your Majesty? What happens to worlds that think they can defy the Empire?" Dae-ho's blood turned to ice. "We have never defied you. We pay our taxes. We follow all laws, but others do not, and they need to see what defiance costs." Vextar's smile showed sharp teeth. "Your sacrifice will save millions of lives across the galaxy. Please, Your Majesty. We have children here. Over 5,000 children in our schools right now." "Yes, I know." The Emperor's eyes showed no emotion. "That will make the lesson more effective." The screen went dark. Dae-ho's hands shook as he reached for the colony-wide communication system. "This is Administrator Kim. All citizens must evacuate immediately." "This is not a drill. Imperial ships are coming. Get to the emergency shelters now." But even as he spoke, he knew it was hopeless. The shelters could not protect against orbital bombardment. Nothing could. So Min Park heard the announcement while teaching her class of 7-year-olds. The children looked at her with confused faces. She had taught here for 10 years. These children were like her own. "Miss Park, what's happening?" asked little Hyunwoo Lee. He had bright eyes and always asked the best questions. "We need to go somewhere safe," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Everyone hold hands. We're going to play a game." She led them toward the emergency shelter under the school. Other teachers were doing the same. The hallways filled with children. Some were crying. The older ones understood this was not a game. The shelter was crowded and dark. Hundreds of children sat on the floor with their teachers. Parents who worked nearby came running to find their kids. Families held each other tight. So Min kept her class together in one corner. She told them stories to keep them calm. But her hands shook as she heard the rumble of ships in the sky above. Dae-ho made it to the main shelter just as the first ships appeared. Through the small windows, he could see them hanging in the sky like dark clouds. Imperial warships bigger than anything humans had ever built. His communication device crackled to life. It was a transmission from the lead ship. "People of New Busan," came a cold voice. "Your deaths will teach the galaxy an important lesson. The Empire's power cannot be challenged. Your children will be remembered as examples of what happens to those who forget their place." "We never challenged you," Dae-ho shouted into the device. "We're just farmers. But others have. And now they will watch your children die and remember why they should obey." The weapons began to charge. Even from the shelter, they could hear the deep humming sound. It grew louder and louder. So Min gathered her children closer. "Listen to me," she whispered. "Whatever happens, remember that you are loved. Your parents love you. I love you. And somewhere out there, people will remember you." Little Hyunwoo looked up at her. "Are we going to die, Miss Park?" She could not lie to him. "Yes, sweetie. But we're not alone. We're together." The first plasma beam struck the school above them. The building shook and dust fell from the ceiling. Children screamed and parents cried. But the shelter held. For a moment there was hope. Then the second beam hit. And the third. The Imperial ships were not trying to destroy military targets. They were making sure nothing survived. Dae-ho activated his emergency transmitter. It would send a signal to all human worlds. His last chance to tell the galaxy what was happening here. "This is Administrator Dae-ho Kim of New Busan Colony." He spoke into the device as the ceiling cracked above him. "The Empire is murdering our children. 5,731 children are dying here today, not because we fought them. Not because we rebelled, but because they want to send a message. Another beam hit. Chunks of concrete fell around him. To any humans listening, remember this day. Remember their names. Remember what they did to us. The fourth beam punched through the shelter roof. Emergency lights failed. In the darkness, Daeho could hear children crying for their parents. So Min held her class as the walls began to collapse. Be brave, she told them. We'll be together always. The final beam struck directly above them. Across human space, people watched the transmission in horror. The Empire made sure everyone could see it. They broadcast the destruction live to every world in the galaxy. They wanted the fear to spread. On Earth, in the secret government bunkers, old men in military uniforms watched their screens in silence. They had warned this day might come. They had prepared for it, but seeing it happen still felt like a knife in the heart. General Tae-Young Cho, head of Human Fleet Command, stood up slowly. He was 70 years old and had never seen real war. Humans had always been peaceful. They preferred to farm and trade rather than fight. But as he watched the last signals from New Busan fade to static, something changed in his eyes. Sir? His aide asked. Your orders? General Cho looked at the screen showing the dead colony. Somewhere in that rubble were the bodies of 5,731 children. Children who had died for no reason except to make other species afraid. Send a message to all human worlds, he said quietly. Tell them to implement Protocol 7. Sir, Protocol 7 hasn't been used since we created it. Yes, I know. The general's voice was cold as space. Tell them the children of New Busan require justice. What message should we send to the Empire, sir? General Cho thought about little faces he had seen in the transmission. Children who would never grow up. Families that would never be whole again. One word, he said. Send them one word, annihilation. The aide's hands shook as he typed the message. Across human space, secret facilities that had been dark for decades began to power up. Technologies that had been hidden from the galaxy started to wake up. The Empire had just discovered that some lines should never be crossed, and they had crossed the most important one of all. Emperor Vextar sat on his golden throne and smiled. The destruction of New Busan had gone perfectly. Already reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Rebellious worlds were surrendering. Trade routes that had been closed were opening again. Fear worked better than any weapon. His palace stretched for kilometers across the capital world. Millions of beings from hundreds of species came here to bow before him. The Kethari Empire controlled half the galaxy, and it would control more soon. Your Majesty, said General Korth, his military advisor, the human world has been completely destroyed. All 5,731 targets eliminated. Targets? Vextar laughed. They were children, Korth, say it properly. We killed 5,731 human children. Yes, Your Majesty. The broadcast reached every world in our territory. The effect is already being felt. Vextar stood and walked to the great window. Below him, the capital city sparkled with lights. Millions of beings lived and worked in his shadow. All of them afraid, all of them obedient. Have the humans responded yet? Not officially, Your Majesty. But our intelligence reports unusual activity in human space. What kind of activity? General Korth looked uncomfortable. Ships are moving, but we cannot track them properly. Our sensors are having difficulty. Technical problems? Perhaps. Or the humans are using some kind of jamming technology we haven't seen before. Vextar waved his hand dismissively. Humans are primitive. They barely have faster-than-light travel. What could they possibly do? Before General Korth could answer, every screen in the throne room activated at once. The palace communication system crackled to life. Emergency alarms began to sound. What is happening? Vextar demanded. A technician ran into the room. Your Majesty, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies. Every communication device in the Empire is picking it up. Impossible. Our systems are encrypted. No one can break into all of them at once. It's happening anyway, sir. The screens around the throne room all showed the same thing. A simple black background with white text. Just one word in the center, annihilation. Turn it off, Vextar ordered. We're trying, Your Majesty. But the signal's coming from everywhere and nowhere. Our technicians cannot locate the source. The Emperor stared at the word on the screen. How long has this been broadcasting? 3 minutes and counting, sir. Every Imperial world is seeing this. Every ship, every station, every personal communication device. General Korth stepped forward. Your Majesty, this is clearly some kind of human trick. But it's just words. They cannot actually threaten us. Vexitar nodded, but something cold was growing in his stomach. No species in the galaxy had technology that could do this. Not even his own people, sir, the technician said urgently. There's more. The signal is also being broadcast on frequencies that don't exist. What do you mean, don't exist? Frequencies that our science says are impossible to use for communication. But somehow they're using them anyway. The word on the screen flickered and changed. Now it showed coordinates. The location of New Busan, then it changed again. Now it showed a number, 5731. Then it went back to the single word, Annihilation. Find out who's doing this, Vextar snarled. I want them found and destroyed. Yes, Your Majesty. But as the hours passed, his technicians found nothing. The signal continued broadcasting on every Imperial device. It could not be turned off. It could not be blocked. It was simply there like a heartbeat. Meanwhile, across the Empire, something else was happening. Commander Ji-Hai Yoon of Imperial Intelligence stood in her command center watching the reports flow in. She was one of the few humans who worked for the Empire. Her people had been conquered long ago, and some had chosen to serve rather than resist. But as she watched the intelligence reports, her hands began to shake. Ma'am, her assistant said, we have a problem. Human military assets are disappearing. What do you mean disappearing? Exactly that. We had tracking on their major fleets. 17 battle groups, 43 cruiser squadrons, hundreds of smaller vessels, all confirmed positions as of yesterday. And now? Nothing. They're all gone. Ji-Hee stared at the star map. Where there had been dozens of human military markers, now there was empty space. Sensor malfunction? That's what we thought. But we sent scout ships to verify. The human ships are simply not there anymore. Could they have jumped to faster-than-light travel? All of them? At exactly the same time? And we would still detect their engine signatures when they dropped back to normal space. Ji-Hai felt her blood turn cold. She had been tracking human military movements for years. Humans were not advanced enough to hide entire fleets from Imperial sensors. Ma'am, another technician called out. We're getting reports from the Outer Rim. 3 Imperial patrol squadrons have missed their check-in times. Which systems? Vega 7, Altair Station, and the Centauri Outpost. Send ships to investigate. We already did. The investigation teams haven't reported back either. The cold feeling in Ji-Hai's stomach grew worse. How many ships have we lost contact with? 18 so far. And the number is growing. She walked to the main display. The galaxy map showed Imperial territory in green. Human space was marked in blue, a small section compared to the Empire. But now, along the border between them, green markers were turning gray. Imperial ships and stations going silent. Ma'am, incoming priority message from the border. Admiral Torvin's battle fleet reports. Wait, what? The signal just cut out. Admiral Torvin's entire battle fleet just went silent. That was impossible. Admiral Torvin commanded 300 ships. They were patrolling the border with human space. How could 300 ships just vanish? Send everything we have to that sector. I want to know what happened. But even as she gave the order, Ji-Hai knew those ships would not find anything. Whatever was happening, it was beyond their understanding. The message continued broadcasting on every screen. Annihilation, and one by one, Imperial assets near human space were disappearing. Back in the throne room, Emperor Vextar was receiving increasingly desperate reports. His empire was vast, but the edges were going dark. Worlds that had been loyal for centuries were no longer responding. Your Majesty, General Korth said nervously, perhaps we should consider negotiating with the humans. Negotiating? Vextar's voice was deadly quiet. They are insects. We just proved that by crushing their children. But Your Majesty, we've lost contact with 40 star systems in the past 6 hours. Technical problems. It has to be. What if it's not? Vextar turned to stare at his general. Are you suggesting that a primitive species that we just defeated could somehow threaten the Empire? General Korth said nothing, but his eyes showed fear. The screens around them continued to show the same message. That single word that had been broadcasting for hours now. A word that was beginning to feel less like a threat and more like a promise. Annihilation. Emperor Vextar sat back on his throne and tried to ignore the growing fear in his chest. He had ruled the galaxy through terror for decades. Nothing could threaten him. But as another report came in of an entire Imperial fleet vanishing without a trace, he began to wonder if he had made a terrible mistake. The humans had sent him a message with just one word, and they seemed to be keeping their promise. Deep beneath the surface of Titan, Saturn's largest moon, Dr. Min Jung Kang stood before the most powerful machine ever built by human hands. The Wraith Protocol facility stretched for kilometers underground, hidden from every sensor in the galaxy. For 50 years, humanity had been playing a careful game. They let other species think they were weak. They used old technology in public while building something incredible in secret. They traded peacefully while preparing for the day when peace would not be enough. That day had come. Dr. Kang, her assistant called out. We've received confirmation from General Cho. The Emperor has seen our message. Min Jung nodded without looking away from the massive machine. The quantum field generator hummed with power that could reshape reality itself. Around it, thousands of technicians worked at stations that controlled forces beyond current galactic understanding. Status report, she said. Phase 1 is complete. All Imperial tracking systems now show empty space where our fleets used to be. They're not seeing empty space, Min Jung corrected. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see. Our ships are still there. They're just existing in a different layer of reality. The assistant looked confused. I don't understand the science, Doctor. Quantum phase shifting. We learned how to move matter between dimensions. Our ships are still in the same place, but they're shifted just enough that normal sensors cannot detect them. She walked to a viewing screen that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked Imperial positions. Blue dots marked human positions. But the blue dots were special. They could be seen only by human technology. How many ships do we have in phase shift? All of them, Doctor. Every human military vessel. Over 10,000 ships total. And our ground forces? Also shifted. 50 million soldiers positioned on or near Imperial worlds. All invisible. All waiting for orders, Min Jung smiled coldly. The Empire thought they had destroyed humanity's future by killing children. They had no idea that humanity's real strength was not in ships or soldiers. It was in minds. In science. In the ability to see problems and solve them. Doctor, another technician called out. We're receiving a priority transmission from Captain Beck. Put him through. The screen flickered and showed a man in his 40s with calm, intelligent eyes. Captain Sung-Ho Beck commanded the first human ship to use phase shift technology. He was currently sitting in orbit around the Imperial capital world. Dr. Kang, we're in position. The Emperor cannot see us, but we can see everything he does. Excellent. How long until the other strike teams are ready? All teams report ready. We have forces positioned at every major Imperial world. We're just waiting for your signal. Min Jung looked around the facility. Hundreds of humans worked at their stations. Many of them had lost family on New Busan. They were not soldiers seeking glory. They were scientists and engineers seeking justice. Captain, implement Phase 2. Begin the demonstrations. Understood, Doctor. Which targets first? Start with the outer rim. Let them disappear one by one. I want the Emperor to feel the fear growing. The screen went dark. Around the facility, new displays activated. They showed Imperial worlds across the galaxy. Each one had a small human force hidden nearby, invisible and waiting. Dr. Kang, a young voice called out. She turned to see Jin-Ai Ryu walking toward her. Jin-Ai was only 16 years old, but her understanding of quantum mechanics was beyond most adults. Her parents had died on New Busan. She had been visiting Earth when the attack happened. Yes, Jin-Ai? I've been monitoring Imperial communications. They're getting scared. Good, fear will make them make mistakes, but Doctor, what if they surrender? What if they try to negotiate? Min Jung's expression hardened. They had a chance to negotiate before they murdered children. That time has passed. Jin-Ai nodded but looked uncertain. Will we become like them? Will we rule through fear too? It was a fair question. Min Jung had asked herself the same thing many times during the past 3 days. No, she said finally. We don't want to rule anyone. We just want to make sure this never happens again. How do we do that? By making the cost so terrible that no one will ever think about hurting human children again. Across the galaxy, the demonstrations began. Imperial Outpost Vega 7 was a small mining station with a crew of 300. They were extracting rare metals from an asteroid field. It was routine work, far from any conflict. Major Wu Jin Song and his team materialized on the station's command deck. They had been waiting in phase shift for 6 hours, studying the station's layout and crew rotations. The Imperial workers looked up in shock. Humans were appearing out of thin air, dressed in black armor that seemed to bend light around it. What? How did you get here? The station commander stammered. Your emperor murdered children, Major Song said quietly. All children deserve justice. But we had nothing to do with that. We're just minors, we know. That's why you're going to live. Major Song activated a small device. The station's communication array suddenly broadcasted on all Imperial frequencies. Every Imperial ship and outpost in the sector could hear what happened next. Attention, Imperial forces. The station is now under human control. We took it without firing a single shot. Your sensors could not detect us. Your weapons could not stop us. We are everywhere and you cannot see us, he paused, letting that sink in. Your emperor killed 5,731 children. We remember every one of them. This station survives because its crew are innocent. Others will not be so fortunate. Major Song and his team vanished as quickly as they had appeared. But they left behind a station full of terrified Imperial workers who could only broadcast one message. The humans had technology. Beyond anything the Empire understood. Similar scenes played out across dozens of Imperial outposts. Human forces appeared from nowhere, delivered messages and vanished. Sometimes they left the crews alive. Sometimes they did not. The pattern became clear. Anyone who had supported the attack on New Busan disappeared completely. Anyone who had opposed it, or who had no connection to it, lived to tell the tale. Dr. Minjung Kang watched the reports flow in from her command center. Each successful operation was marked on the galactic map. The Empire was starting to understand what they were facing. Doctor, Jin'ei said, monitoring the Imperial communications. They're pulling all their forces back to core worlds. They're abandoning the outer rim. Expected. They're trying to consolidate their defenses. Will it work? Minjung smiled. No, they're thinking like this is a normal war. But we're not fighting their ships. We're fighting their ability to feel safe. She activated the main display, which showed the Imperial capital world. Captain Bayek's ship was still in orbit, invisible to all Imperial sensors. Captain Bayek, status report. Still undetected, Doctor. I'm watching the Emperor's palace right now. He looks worried. Good, how are our other assets? All teams in position. We have forces on every major Imperial world. We can strike anywhere, anytime. And the special project? Captain Bayek's expression grew serious. The memory cores are ready. We've recorded everything about every child who died on New Busan. Names, faces, families, dreams. All of it, Minjung nodded. That was the real weapon, not the ships or the soldiers or the quantum technology. It was memory. The Empire would learn that some things could never be forgotten. Doctor, a technician called out urgently. We're detecting Imperial fleet movements. Large numbers of ships heading toward human space. How many? Over 5,000 ships. The Emperor is sending everything he has. Minjung studied the tactical display. The Imperial fleet was massive, but it was also desperate. They were trying to fight an enemy they could not see with weapons that could not touch them. Let them come, she said. It's time for Phase 3. What are your orders, Doctor? Minjung looked around the facility one more time. At the scientists and engineers who had built humanity's secret strength. At Jin'ei, whose parents would never see her grow up. At the displays showing Imperial forces desperately trying to find an enemy that was already among them. Send the signal to all teams. Begin the final phase. It's time to show the Emperor what annihilation really means. Across the galaxy, thousands of human forces received their orders. They had been patient. They had been careful. They had given the Empire every chance to realize the magnitude of their mistake. Now patience was over. The real war was about to begin. The hunt began at midnight, Imperial Standard Time. Across 17 star systems, the Empire's most secure facilities simply went silent. Military command centers, intelligence headquarters, governors' palaces. One moment they were there. The next moment there was nothing but empty space where buildings used to stand. Admiral Vorth was drinking his morning coffee when his aide ran into his office on Kepler Station. The Admiral commanded the Empire's Third Fleet, 200 ships and 50,000 soldiers. Sir, we've lost contact with Fleet Command. Communication problems again? No, sir, the building is gone. Admiral Vorth set down his coffee cup. What do you mean, gone? I mean it's not there anymore. Our orbital sensors show empty ground where Fleet Command used to be. No wreckage, no debris. It's like it was never built. The Admiral walked to his window. Below them, the military city of Kepler Station bustled with activity. Thousands of Imperial soldiers and officers went about their daily duties. Sir, his aide continued nervously, that's not all. We've lost contact with Intelligence Central, Strategic Command, and Governor Helix's palace, all in the past hour. All of them? Yes, sir. And the pattern is spreading. Reports coming in from other systems. Important buildings are just disappearing. Admiral Vorth felt ice in his veins. Get me a direct line to the Emperor. We've been trying, sir. The Imperial Palace isn't responding. Before the Admiral could respond, his personal communicator activated. A calm human voice spoke from the device. Admiral Vorth, you have 15 minutes to evacuate your station. The Admiral grabbed the communicator. Who is this? How did you access this frequency? You signed the order to bomb New Busan. The families of those children demand justice. I was following orders. And now you face the consequences. 14 minutes, Admiral. The communication cut off. Admiral Vorth looked around his office in panic. Sound general evacuation. All personnel to the escape pods now. Sir, we can't evacuate 50,000 people in 15 minutes. Then evacuate who you can. Alarms began blaring across Kepler Station. Soldiers ran through the corridors toward escape pods, but there were not enough pods for everyone. There never were. Admiral Vorth made it to his personal shuttle just as the countdown reached 0. Kepler Station didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply stopped existing. Where the massive military complex had been, there was now empty space. 50,000 Imperial soldiers vanished in an instant, leaving only a few hundred survivors in escape pods floating among the stars. The Admiral's shuttle picked up one final transmission before jumping to faster-than-light travel. Remember the children of New Busan? Similar scenes played out across the Empire. The humans had identified every person involved in the attack on New Busan. They had tracked down every officer who gave orders, every soldier who pressed buttons, every official who supported the decision. Major Wu Jin-song stood in the Emperor's private military command center on the capital world. His team had materialized inside the most secure building in the Empire. Guards lay unconscious around them, not dead, just sleeping. The humans were precise in their violence. Sir, his communications officer said, we have control of their entire military network. Major Song looked at the displays showing Imperial fleet movements. Thousands of ships were heading toward human space, but they were moving blind. Their command structure was gone. Their intelligence network was destroyed. They were just ships floating in space with no coordination. Upload the virus to their navigation systems. Sir, that will leave their fleet stranded in deep space. Better than letting them reach civilian targets. The virus spread through Imperial military networks in seconds. Across the galaxy, Imperial warships suddenly found their navigation computers failing. They could no longer plot courses. They could not even determine their current location. Thousands of ships became lost in the vastness of space. Major, another team member called out, we've found the Imperial war records. Every military action for the past century is here. Any other attacks on civilian targets? Dozens, sir. They've been using terror tactics for decades. Major Song's expression hardened. Download everything. The galaxy needs to see what the Empire has been doing. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Tae Young-cho watched the progress reports in his hidden command bunker. The old man had spent his life preparing for this day, hoping it would never come. General, his aide reported, Phase 4 is complete. We've eliminated the Empire's entire command structure. Their military is blind and scattered. Casualties on our side? 0, sir. No human forces have been detected or engaged. General Cho nodded. The phase shift technology made them invisible to Imperial sensors. They could walk through the most secure facilities without being seen. It was not just advanced technology. It was technology so far beyond Imperial understanding that it might as well be magic. Status of Imperial civilian populations? Untouched, sir. We're only targeting military and government installations involved in war crimes. Good, we're not monsters. Sir, what about the Emperor himself? General Cho thought about the children of New Busan. About So-min Park, who died protecting her students. About little Hyun-woo Lee, whose only crime was being human. He's last. I want him to see his empire crumble first. I want him to understand what he did. On the Imperial capital world, Specialist Haiwan Jiang moved through the Emperor's palace like a ghost. Her quantum phase armor made her invisible to all sensors and most eyes. She could walk through walls, slip past guards, and appear anywhere she wanted. She was not here to kill. Not yet. She was here to deliver a message. The Emperor's private chambers were heavily guarded, but the guards could not see her. She waited until Emperor Vexitar was alone, then materialized in the corner of his room. The Emperor spun around, his yellow eyes wide with shock. Impossible. The sensors would have detected you. Your sensors see what we want them to see, HFY said calmly. Just like your fleets, your command centers, and your intelligence networks. What do you want? I want you to know that we remember. Every child who died on New Busan. We know their names, their faces, their dreams. And we know exactly who is responsible. Vextar backed toward his emergency alarm. You cannot threaten me. I am the Emperor. You were the Emperor. Now you're just a war criminal waiting for judgment. HFY activated a small device. Holographic images filled the room. Pictures of the children who died on New Busan. All 5,731 of them. These are the faces of your victims. Look at them. I don't have to look at anything. Yes, you do. HFY's voice carried quiet authority. Because in a few hours you're going to meet their families. And you're going to explain to them why their children had to die for your demonstration. The Emperor's hand reached the alarm button. Nothing happened. His security systems had been disabled hours ago. Your empire is finished, HFY continued. Your fleets are lost in space. Your command structure is gone. Your military leaders are dead or captured. You have nothing left except the knowledge that you brought this on yourself. We will rebuild. We will hunt down every human in the galaxy. With what? You have no ships that can find us, no weapons that can hurt us, no technology that can track us. We are everywhere and nowhere. We are in your dreams and in your shadows. HFY began to fade back into phase shift. Remember the children, Emperor. Remember what you did to them. Because they are the reason you're going to die. She vanished, leaving Emperor Vextar alone with the holographic faces of dead children staring at him from every corner of his room. Across the Empire, the pattern continued. Military leaders vanished. Government officials disappeared. Anyone who had supported the attack on New Busan simply stopped existing. But the humans were careful. They touched no civilians. They harmed no innocents. They were surgical in their vengeance, precise in their justice. The galaxy watched in terror and amazement. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was being defeated, but not by superior numbers or better weapons. They were being defeated by technology so advanced it seemed like magic. And through it all, one message continued broadcasting on every Imperial frequency: Annihilation. The word that had started as a threat was becoming reality. The Empire was being unmade piece by piece, leader by leader, until only one piece remained. Emperor Vextar sat alone in his palace, surrounded by the faces of dead children waiting for the humans to come for him. The hunt was almost over. Emperor Vextar had not slept in 3 days. His empire was gone. His fleets were lost in space. His military leaders were dead. He sat alone in his throne room, staring at empty screens that once showed him a galaxy under his control. The palace was silent except for his breathing. His guards had vanished during the night. His servants had fled. He was the ruler of nothing now. The great doors to the throne room stood open. No one was coming to save him. No one was coming to bow before him. He was waiting for the only visitors he knew would arrive: the humans. He did not have to wait long. They appeared like morning mist, materializing from empty air. Not soldiers in armor, but ordinary people in simple clothes. Men and women with lined faces and sad eyes. Parents who would never see their children again. Sungmin. Oh stepped forward first. He was a tall man with gray hair and gentle hands that had once built toys for his 3 children. All 3 had died on New Busan while attending school. Emperor Vextar, Sungmin said quietly, we need to talk. Behind him came Young-suk Kim, a small woman who had lost her entire family in the bombing. Her husband had been a teacher. Her 2 daughters had been students. She carried a small device in her hands. More parents followed. Dozens of them. All survivors of New Busan who had been off-world when the attack happened. All people whose lives had been destroyed by one man's decision. Dr. Min Jung Kang entered last, followed by Captain Seung-ho Baek and young Jin-A Ryu, the scientist, the soldier, and the child genius who had helped bring down the Empire. Where are your guards? Vextar asked, trying to sound commanding. We are their guards, Captain Baek replied. We've been watching you for days. Impossible. My sensors would have detected you. Dr. Minjung smiled sadly. Your Majesty, your sensors have been useless for 50 years. We've been walking among you, studying you, preparing for this day. You couldn't have hidden an entire civilization's technology. We didn't hide it. We just let you think we were primitive. Ginny spoke for the first time, her young voice carrying surprising authority. You saw what you wanted to see. Weak humans with simple ships and basic weapons. While we were really developing quantum phase technology, matter manipulation and consciousness transfer, Dr. Minjung added. We learned to move between dimensions, to exist in spaces your science says are impossible. Vextar looked around the room. Then why didn't you use these weapons before? Why did you let us rule the galaxy? Because we didn't want to rule anyone, Sung Minho said. We just wanted to be left alone, to raise our children in peace. Young Suk Kim stepped forward, her device beeping softly. But you couldn't leave us alone. You had to kill children to send a message. It was necessary, Vextar snarled. The Empire needed to maintain order. Order? Captain Back's voice was cold as space. You killed 5731 children for order? They were just numbers. Statistics. Their deaths saved millions of lives by preventing rebellion. The parents in the room looked at each other. Some had tears in their eyes. Others looked angry. All of them looked tired. Just numbers, Youngsuk repeated. Is that what you think? She activated her device. The throne room filled with holographic images. Not the faces of dead children this time, but memories. Actual memories of life on New Busan. Hyunwoo Lee laughing as he played with his friends. So Min Park reading stories to her class. Children learning, growing, dreaming about their futures. Families sharing meals together. Parents tucking their children into bed. These were not numbers, Youngsuk said. These were lives, dreams, futures that will never happen because of you. Vextar looked away from the memories. War requires sacrifice. This wasn't war, Dr. Minjung said. This was murder. And now you face the consequences. What consequences? Will you kill me? Torture me? Prove that you're no better than I am? Sung Minho shook his head. We're not going to kill you, Emperor. Death would be too easy. Then what? Jin'e stepped forward, her young face serious beyond her years. We're going to give you what you gave our children. A choice you can't escape. She activated another device. This one projected a map of the galaxy, but it was not the galaxy as it existed now. It was the galaxy as it had been before the Empire. Every species you conquered, Jin'e explained. Every world you enslaved. Every civilization you destroyed. We're going to give them all their freedom back. And we're going to make sure the galaxy remembers what you did, Youngsuk added. Every war crime. Every atrocity. Every innocent life you took. Captain Beck spoke next. Your technology will be shared with every species in the galaxy. No one will ever be helpless against tyrants again. But what about me? Vextar demanded. Dr. Minjung smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You get to live. You get to watch the galaxy rebuild without you. You get to see what the universe looks like when it's free of fear. We've prepared a special place for you, Sungmin said. A small world where you can spend the rest of your life thinking about what you did. You'll be alone, Youngsuk added. Just like the parents you made childless. And every day, Jin'e said, you'll see the faces of the children you killed. Their memories will play in your mind. You'll know their names, their hopes, their dreams. Forever, Captain Bayek finished. Vextar felt something cold spreading through his chest. That's torture. That's justice, Dr. Minjung replied. You wanted to send a message by killing children. Now we're sending a message by letting you live with what you did. The device in Youngsuk's hands beeped one final time. It's done. The memory implants are active. You'll never forget them now. Suddenly, Vextar's mind filled with new memories. He could see Hyunwoo Lee's bright smile. He could hear So-Min Park reading to her students. He could feel the fear of children as his bombs fell on their school. No, he whispered. Take it out. Can't be done, Jin'e said simply. The quantum implants are part of your brain now. You'll carry those memories until the day you die. And it will be a very long time, Dr. Minjung added. We've given you an extended lifespan. You'll have centuries to remember what you did. The parents began to fade, returning to phase shift. Their mission was complete. Wait, Vextar called out. You can't just leave me here. We're not, Sungmin said. Your transport is waiting. Your new home is ready. But the galaxy will forget me. I'll become nothing. Youngsuk looked back at him one last time. The galaxy will remember you, Emperor. They'll remember you as the monster who killed children. They'll remember you as the tyrant who fell because he forgot that some things should never be done. And we'll remember the children, Captain Beck added. All 5731 of them. Their names will live forever. One by one, the humans vanished. Only Jin'e remained, the 16-year-old girl whose parents had died for the Emperor's message. I was supposed to visit New Busan the day you bombed it, she said quietly. I was going to surprise my parents for their anniversary. I didn't know. You didn't care. That's the difference between us and you. She began to fade as well. We know every name. We remember every face. We carry their love with us. And you, she added as she disappeared completely, you carry their deaths. Emperor Vexitar was alone. The palace around him began to dissolve. Human technology was removing every trace of his empire from existence. Soon there would be nothing left but memory. He tried to stand from his throne, but his legs would not work. The memory implants were activating. In his mind, he could hear children laughing, children learning, children crying as his bombs fell. A transport beam surrounded him. When the light faded, he stood on a small world under an alien sun. There was a simple house, a garden, and nothing else. No servants, no guards, no subjects to command. Just him and the memories of 5,131 children who would never grow up. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The Empire was gone. The Emperor was exiled. Humanity had revealed technology that made them the most advanced species in known space. But the humans did not claim the Empire's territory. They did not demand tribute or obedience. They simply returned freedom to every world that had been enslaved. And they made one promise to the galaxy: hurt human children and face annihilation. On his empty world, former Emperor Vextar sat in his garden and wept. In his mind, a little boy named Hyunwoo. Lee was asking his teacher what annihilation meant. Now he knew it meant justice that could never be escaped. It meant remembering forever what should never be forgotten. It meant that some prices are too terrible to pay, and some lines should never be crossed. The children of New Busan were gone, but they would never be forgotten. Their names would echo through history as the reason the galaxy learned to choose love over fear. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all.